for last, there wasn't a video, was there?
There was not.
Okay.
No, I wasn't there for it,
Thank you.
and so I just put your outline assignment in the classroom and just had people field any questions, and so that was all that was.
Yes, ma'am.
Good question though. All right, guys, welcome to class. Can I use this as an example? If you would set up your paper approximately thusly to create your Cornell notes, because I forgot to run any extra copies. But this is what we're doing for our notes today, is just use a blank piece of paper, please. I do have the video running, so there will be a video for this class for those that are absent, or if you have to leave early, or if you just need to refresh your memory. Remember, guys, too, the video is there for you as well. So if you go home and you're like, what did Miss A say about that? Go watch it on YouTube. Okay? Permission slips for the writer's workshop. Here's the deal with that. So it is entirely optional whether or not you choose to participate in that, but I really would like something back from you so that I know. Like, for example, Hallie, I'm going to pick on you for a second, but you're not fussing at you. But like, you just told me that you can't do it, so maybe put that on the permission slip, like, I can't do this, and then turn it into me or whatever. Like, that way I have like a paper, that way I know it's not that I'm missing yours, it's that you're not going to do it, which is totally fine, but I don't want to be like harassing you, like, hey, I'm missing your form, if you weren't going to do it anyway. And I also want to be able to plan, for my purposes, how many of you and who to expect and which periods to expect you. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That is the 12th. The 12th. It's a Tuesday. So right now, I'm going to steal your pen first. Right now, I have a permission slip from Jordan. You're doing the second half of the day, 5th through 8th. I have a permission slip from John. John, you're just doing the last 2 periods, 7th and 8th. I've got a permission slip from Ebony. You just want the first 2, first and second, okay? And I've got one from Virginia that's not in here. She doesn't know when she's coming, she's got the whole day signed. So the rest of you, if you didn't hear your name, I need your form. Yes, ma'am. I have my original, so Sophie, if you want to stick around at the end, you and I will walk to the copier and I'll make a copy. Anybody else need an extra? You do? Okay, you do. All right, so all of you that just raise your hands, stick around until the end. I'll run you a copy. All right, any questions about that writer's workshop that's coming up? Okay, let's talk about a few things. First of all, what's your next deadline?
December 14th. December 8th.
Okay, I actually pushed it back even further. It was going to be the 8th. I gave you even more time because I wanted it after the workshop. So December 14th. That is the Thursday before you go home for the break. Yep, same day as Wishes of Westwood. So December 14th, you have an outline due. That assignment and those instructions, including examples and everything you could possibly want, is already in Google Classroom and has been for a while now. Okay? And then the other thing that's going to be required of you is that at that point you have all 40 of your sources. So I'm calling it 40 sources, but realize that what that's going to look like is basically the other 20, the second set of 20. Yes, sir?
Would that include notes or not?
It does not have to include notes. Good question. Yeah, right now I just want to see again, if you have notes with it, that's great. And guys, keep in mind, at this point, you should have notes. Just because I'm not grading for the notes doesn't mean that you have more time than you do. You really should have some by now. You're getting ready to start writing rough drafts. Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to return that sheet that we turned into Google Classroom so we can?
Which one?
The source sheet.
Yes, that's the only one I haven't returned to you yet. I absolutely am. And so that's a great question, Jordan. I'm glad you said that because I was getting ready to talk about how to turn this in. The outline is an assignment in Google Classroom. Okay, it's its own assignment. You turned in one sheet that has all 20. I am going to create a new place for you to put the 40, okay? I'm trying to decide how I want to do this. I really do want to see all 40 together. rather than just sending me the second 20, I kind of want to see them all in one thing. But think about it, the first 20 is already in one big document. Copy and paste that, and then just keep going, 21, 22, 23. Does that make sense? But Jordan, the reason I'm gonna create a new place to put it is because that allows me in Google Classroom to create a new deadline for you that will send you reminders, etc. So that's gonna be in Google Classroom as well, but I need to, this is my to-do, to return the first 20. And I will absolutely do that as quickly as possible, hopefully by the end of the week. And I'll say more about that in a second, yeah.
Do we need exactly 40?
You need at least 40. I would prefer you to have closer to 50. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Probably not the answer you were looking for, but that's the answer. Yeah. Good question. And guys, at this point, I haven't really harped on this as much this year, which I really need to keep saying it because we do have some new people in the class. Make sure that you have a variety of sources, okay? I should not see 35 websites and 5 books. You know, I should see a wide variety of sources. Not only a variety in terms of primary versus secondary sources, but a variety in terms of some ought to be websites, some ought to be books, some ought to be journal articles, right? One might be an interview, a documentary, you should have a variety. Yes?
For some reason, I just thought it was everything except websites. So I was doing everything except like websites for some reason.
That's great, because if you've got 20 sources already that aren't websites,
Yeah, that's.
that frees you up. Hey,
Hello, sorry, I have to go print my letters because I'm a teacher cadet and we have that thing going on, and then I have a teacher ask me to talk to me. Okay.
but you're here now?
I'm here.
Okay, take that.
Thank you.
You have to create your own Cornell note sheets, because
Okay.
I don't have any, and then I'll catch up.
Okay.
So to go back to what you were saying, Elijah, so you're in a place where you could conceivably, your second set of 20 could potentially have a lot more websites as sources, just because you don't have any yet. But the fewer websites you have, the better your research looks, to be perfectly honest, so that's okay. And we haven't talked a lot about this either, guys, but in terms of websites, what should you look for in the web address to show you that it's probably a better
Or.
site?
.org.gov.edu.
.org,
Well,
.gov,
.edu.
.edu. Is .com okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's okay, but it's not as great, and you should limit them. If every source you have is .com, it looks like all you did is read a bunch of blogs and make something up. Yes, question?
If the websites that we taken from the information from are from the Thomas Cooper Library, is it okay?
Yeah, of course. Now, what you may be thinking of, John, is you may be thinking of it as a website, and it may actually be one of those online journal articles.
Yeah,
So in that case, it's not really a website, it's a journal article.
it's our journal.
Yep, good question.
If it a picture, do you want us to like put the picture on the source or just?
No, you can just cite it, like that can be one of your sources. You could even just,
Yeah, our pictures considered, because with the websites, we need a whole lot more pictures than we do.
that's a great point. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So for you two, it's gonna be a little different. I would expect to see a lot of pictures, maybe even some multimedia things that are gonna make their way to your website. I would caution the two of you though, not to get so hung up. Like you might have 30 pictures on your website. Don't then only have 10 additional sources. You know, try to have a lot of informational sources. You just might go well above 40 because of your pictures. But I'm also understanding that you may not have 38 books. You know, you may have 20 and then 20 pictures. But try to have a lot more than 40 since so many of them are just gonna be single images. Yeah. What other, I have more things to tell you, but the questions were good. What else do you wanna know? Yep.
What like it's a newspaper that's online?
Okay, good question. What if it's a newspaper but it's online? There is a way to cite that, and that's why I suggest using those cheats online like refme.com that'll do it for you. You can actually go in and it'll say what type of source is this, and you can select this is a newspaper online, and it'll tell you exactly how to do it. Good question. All right, I'm gonna keep talking then. So,
Wait,
yep,
Newspaper online means things like thestate.com?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So there's a particular way to cite that is technically different than if you were citing a paper copy of the newspaper. Usually though, the difference is that they have you include the web address. But yeah, technically if it's an online newspaper, that gets cited differently. Okay, so this is what's coming up. What I wanted to talk to you about briefly is what has been returned to you and what you should do with it. So you may or may not have noticed that I did return your 4 C's document. I have your hard copy. And so you will see lots of comments all over your 4 C's document. And I will tell you now so that I don't want anyone to get their feelings hurt, but sometimes guys, when I'm grading especially, my comments might come off as harsh because I'm just trying to get information out as quickly as I can and move on to the next one. So don't take my comments personally. If you read something and you're like, oh my God, Miss A hates me and she thinks I'm an idiot. No, that is not true at all. I'm just telling you what you need fixed, okay? The 4 C's. You need to do some very specific things with the 4 C's. One of the things you do not need to do with it is you do not need to resubmit it. I gave everybody full credit just for trying, which I really didn't feel great about because some people tried a lot harder than others and some people were on time and some people were late, but I just said, you know what? Everybody wins. You all got a great grade on your 4 C's just for trying. But there's some really important things you need to do with it. Here's some of what I saw with the 4 C's. In some cases, not all, some of you were just super vague. Now you did the 4 C's back in September. And so I understand, when you look at it now, you're probably going to feel a lot differently about it because you've done a lot more research about your topic. And at the time, you might not have had enough detail to put it in the 4 C's. So again, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt on that one. But a lot of you were really, really vague, and I just need you to know that because if you continue to be that vague when you go to do your outline, it's not going to go well. So if I put comments about be more specific, give details, too vague, you really need to take that to heart because the 4 C's are going to show up in some way in your outline, but in a more detailed form. Another issue that really, frankly, about half the class had is not knowing 1 C from the next. So it might say context, and you're writing about the compromise. Or it says what change occurred, and you're writing about the context. And you're putting things in the wrong places, and that concerns me when it comes to, again, writing your outline and organizing your paper. So let me just show you a few things with this. When you think about your paper and you think about your topic, if this was all you had to work with, which one of those C's should come first in your paper to make it make the most sense?
Context.
Context, right? What is happening at all in the world locally that leads to your topic? So I point this out because some of you are not understanding what context is, and the stuff that you put in that box isn't actually context. And I need you to know that so that you don't end up trying to make that the introduction to your paper, okay? And I put comments on, when you look at your 4 C's, what I'm saying now might make more sense because I've put like, this is not context, this is actually this, or whatever the case may be. What do you think would come next?
Conflict.
Conflict. Are you seeing what's happening here?
Yeah.
They're in order, guys. This is the order. Now, the only exception to that is if your topic is, in fact, a compromise. You know, if your topic is some kind of peace treaty or something, then you might skip over conflict a little bit. But you've got to mention both. So depending on your topic, you might have more of one than the other. These two might kind of go together. You might go back and forth between conflict and compromise. But then you still are going to start with context and end with change. What is the significance? So when I say you need to do something with your 4 C's, what I mean by that is you really need to take my comments to heart. You need to reread carefully what you put. If it is helpful to you to continue to add to that organizer before you write your paper, please feel free to do so. I'm gonna embarrass Blythe for a second, and I'm gonna tell her that she had a really great 4 Cs that did not require any changes whatsoever. So if you'd like to see one to show you what I was looking for, ask her to share hers. That's meant to be a compliment, not to embarrass you, but I knew it would. So she had a really great one, so that would be a good one to look at. This is gonna help. So, how are your 4 Cs gonna show up in your outline? Because I keep saying that, and I don't want you to misunderstand me. You got an idea?
So I think with the outline, probably what's gonna happen is your like introduction or the first few paragraphs are gonna be what your context is. And then your conflict and compromise is pretty much your body paragraphs, what kind of like happened. And then your change is your conclusion or the most important, the so what, kind of what makes this your, I can't get the words out, but.
You're exactly right, yeah. You're exactly right. So, I'm not gonna look at your outline and say, oh, she didn't use the word context, that's points off. It's not like that. But what you see is that the context is your intro. That is the first few paragraphs of your paper. So that should be reflected in your outline. I should be able to tell very clearly that your outline is going to include some context. Now, some of you had some interesting comments under context. For example, some of you put nothing. Well, everything has context. So again, that's one of those situations where I'm thinking to myself, I don't think they know what context is. You know? Or it would say, what happened locally? And you'd put World War II. Well, World War II is a great big war that lasted many years and it happened a lot of places, and I'm just not sure that that's enough context. Okay? So, just take a look and make sure you... Hey, Mr. Shealy. Would you like to contribute to our discussion of outlines?
No.
Bye.
Thanks anyway.
Y'all have fun.
Thanks for nothing.
AP endorsements have been added, by the way, to our service.
Awesome.
Congratulations. Very nice. Other questions about outlines, the 4 Cs, anything of that nature?
Oh, outlines.
Yep.
Okay, so I was in it, but I was confused, because do you want us to use sentences or not?
Oh, good question. Okay. Full sentences in an outline.
That's how I found
Huh?
out.
No, that's the question. The question is,
Oh.
should you use full sentences in an outline?
No. No.
The answer is no. Now, let me clarify that a little bit, Elijah. Could you? Sure. If you want to throw a few full sentences in there, go ahead. Don't throw me any full paragraphs. If you start going beyond a sentence, then you start not writing an outline and you're creating some other type of document that I don't know what it is. I would also caution you, don't make every single Roman numeral and letter a full sentence. You know, full sentences are appropriate sometimes, like if you want to put the thesis in your outline, that's appropriate. If you want to explain a point, you could put a full sentence, and frankly, I'd rather see a full sentence in an outline than what other people do, which is exactly the opposite, they put one word. So, for example, all right, here's my outline, Roman numeral 1, intro. What's gonna go in my intro? I'm gonna put a quote to start my paper, because someone told me once that that's a really good way to start a paper. And then I'm probably, I guess I gotta explain the quote, because last time I didn't, my teacher told me I had to like put my own words. And then, let's see, I'm gonna put my thesis, because that's gotta go last. All right, body paragraph 2. Man, this outline stuff is easy, we're on a roll. Does that tell me anything at all? No. That is no good, that is nothing. I know it's the intro. You know why? Because it's Roman numeral 1. I don't care that the word thesis is there. I'd like to see your actual thesis statement. If you're going to start with a quote, I want to see the quote. What is the quote? What are you putting there? So the outline is a chance to explain what you're going to do and what you're going to talk about, kind of like the 4 Cs, but you do have to give some specific details. You can't just label things. You got to put the info.
Would you like us to explain the quote if you have one?
Well, I mean, that was kind of a silly example, but yeah, if you were planning on putting something else in that paragraph, put a little note beyond just explain quotes. So like, for example, you wouldn't have to put the explanation itself because that's the paragraph.
Yeah.
But you could say like, explain how this quote relates to the theme. You know, you can give me more.
Yes.
Yeah, give me more. Use these examples, guys. I still suspect that a few of you have not even looked at a single paper that's ever been written for National History Day. You need to look at them. You need to read them. You need to look at the outlines. Look at the examples I'm giving you. Okay, last but not least, I also returned your thesis statements. I put comments on your thesis statements. I think there were only 2 that did not require any changes. All the others, and it doesn't mean they're bad, it just means the others I had edits, I had tweaks, I had suggestions for improvement. So, you also got full credit for your thesis statements, but you have some stuff to look at in order to make those a little stronger, a little better. And we will continue to revise those thesis statements. Those of you that come to the writer's workshop, I'm going to spend time with each of you individually looking at yours. Those of you that can't come, we'll just find another time to do it, like maybe right now for some of you. And so take a look at those thesis statements, because the thesis is really what's driving your paper. So you got to make sure that's in place first. All right, how am I doing on time? What time is it?
4:16.
All right, I like it. Feel good about that? Question?
I can't remember from last year, were you really picky about whether the thesis came first or at the end of the introduction? Did you really care?
Yeah, it really comes at the end of the introduction, but in these History Day papers, there's not much of an introduction.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not that type of essay.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's okay if your intro paragraph is really pretty short and is basically just leading into your thesis.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you don't need a lot of the fluff. Question?
I was asking if you could look at that one. I'm not finished yet.
I will look at your outline. Yeah, let me make sure that there's nothing else I need to say for the good of the group. Anything? All right, well then, what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna turn the camera off. I'm gonna consider your notes finished as far as what you've got down. But there are a few people that I wanted to meet with individually and show them a few things. I know a few of you need copies of the permission slip. So, let's continue to be here for a moment and make sure we have everything we need. All right, let me see here. Oh, Termandra, here is your. Well, I gotta put this off. So there's your 4 Cs. Now, I do want to talk about your thesis with you. I want to take a look at that. If you don't mind pulling that up,
Yes, ma'am.
we can look right now.